Mr. President, even by Chicago standards, this has been some winter. From Boston to Birmingham, Alabama, and beyond, tens of millions of Americans have been clobbered this winter by record snowfalls. In fact, we are heading for the exits here in Washington this afternoon with the threat of another winter storm. That may be why so many of us are so happy that this week is finally here and we can literally count the days until spring training in baseball begins. In cities throughout the Sun Belt, mighty Casey is smiling again at America. More than Puxatawny Phil or the sighting of the first robin, the opening of baseball's spring training for many of us marks the unofficial arrival of spring. And few people on earth are happy about the start of a new baseball season than Bill Bartholomay, a man who has done so much for the cities of Chicago and Atlanta, for the sport of baseball, and for our nation. Bill Bartholomay has achieved more in his one life than many talented people in five. He's phenomenally successful as an entrepreneur, and he's built some of the most successful insurance brokerage firms in the world. Bill has owned a restaurant, a candy company, and a chain of toy stores. He helped a friend and business partner by the name of Ted Turner transform CNN from an upstart news station to one of the most powerful news organizations in the world. Bill Bartholomay is more than a successful businessman. He is a principled civic leader and a true philanthropist. On top of it, he is chairman emeritus of the Atlanta Braves. He's the man who half a century ago, with the support from leaders including the father of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., brought Major League Baseball to America's Deep South. What a life. In 1962, Bill Bartholomay and a group of investors bought the Milwaukee Braves. The Braves roster back then included a lot of great legendary ball players. Among them was a young catcher with a rocket for an arm whose mother had to sign his first contract because he hadn't reached the age of 21. His name was Joe Torre. But the Braves' greatest player then and ever was a man named Henry Aaron, Hammer and Hank. In 1966, Bill Bartholomay and his partners moved the Braves from Milwaukee to Atlanta. Here's something that'll do your heart good. Go to YouTube and watch the video of that magic night, April 8th, 1974, when Hank Aaron broke Babe Ruth's record to become baseball's all-time home run champ, a record he would hold for 33 years. For anyone under the age of 50, it may be impossible now to fully appreciate what that moment meant. It was 6 years almost to the day after Dr. King's assassination. For more than a year, as Hank Aaron had closed in on Babe Ruth's fabled record of 714 home runs, he'd been cheered by many, but also subjected to ugly, racist threats and taunts. There were people who just seethed at the idea that Babe Ruth's immortal record would be broken by a black baseball player. Years later, Hank Aaron would acknowledge that the anger and the jeers wore on him, and they worried Bill Bartholomay too. So watch that clip on YouTube, April 8th, 1874. It was the Braves' home opener against the Los Angeles Dodgers. More than 53,000 fans were standing for that great moment, a record crowd. It's the fourth inning. Hank Aaron is up at bat. The count is 1-0, and then it happens. Aaron swings and smashes the ball over the center field fence. The fans roar, fireworks fill the sky, and as Aaron rounds the bases, the Dodger infielders reach out to shake his hand. He crosses home plate, and he's surrounded by teammates, then his beaming wife and parents, and standing right next to him, Bill Bartholomay. It had been a dozen years since Bill and his partners had brought the Braves and 8 years since they moved them to Atlanta. Part of the reason for moving the Braves to Atlanta was because Atlanta was working hard in the 1960s to become the leading city of the New South, a city that would move beyond the old legacy of Jim Crow to a new era. Leaders, including Dr. King, believed that Major League Baseball could help to create that new Atlanta, and Bill Bartholomay and his partners wanted to be part of that dream. 8 years after the teams moved to Atlanta, there he stood with baseball's new home run king, a man who'd started his career in the old Negro Leagues, who had just broken the most revered record in Major League Baseball, and who would become a symbol of immense pride for Atlanta and all of America. That was one of the many great moments for the Braves under Bill Bartholomay. Since he moved the team to Atlanta in 1966, Bill has witnessed the Braves win 16 division championships, including a record-setting 14 in a row, 5 National League pennants, and in 1995, the Braves went all the way, winning the World Series. Bill no longer owns the Braves, but he's still closely connected to the team and serves as chairman emeritus since 2003. He's an active member of the MLB Owners Group. Bill Bartholomay grew up in Illinois in a family where his father and grandfather had made good money in the insurance brokerage business. He was the second of two boys, and he grew up in Winnetka, Illinois, just outside Chicago, in a big house. The Bartholomays were friends with both the Wrigley family, who owned the Cubs, and the Comiskey family, who owned the White Sox. As far back as he can remember, Bill loved baseball, and so did his mom. They used to go to Cubs games together. At the North Shore Country Day School, his 8th grade phys ed instructor thought that Bill loved baseball a little too much. He sent home a report card that read, and I quote, "Bill is very cooperative in play. While his ability is not great, he makes up to a large degree by his enthusiasm and interest. My greatest concern," the report went on to say, "with him is that he seems to borrow much of his ideas of conduct from professional baseball." That teacher didn't have to worry. The lessons of baseball have served Bill Bartholomay very well. They've shaped his entire amazing life. One of Bill's favorite sayings is, quote, "Start strong, finish strong, and play all 9 innings." Translation, give it everything you've got. No half measures. That attitude has enabled Bill to build, or even help build, a number of powerful insurance brokerage firms, along with other businesses. 2003, he became vice chairman of the Willis Group Holdings, one of the largest insurance brokerages in the world, and he increased their presence in Chicago to the point where they became the regional headquarters of what was formerly known as Sears Tower, now known as the Willis Tower. Today, that office anchors Chicago's place as a first-rate place to operate a global company. Bill is more than a businessman, more than a man of baseball. He's a civic leader as well. In the early 1980s, then Chicago Mayor, the late Jane Byrne, asked Bill to serve on the Park Commission, overseeing Chicago's 400 parks. Bill never said no to public service. So even though he had 5 teenage kids and a number of businesses, he said he'd serve for 1 year. He ended up serving for 23. All told, 3 of Chicago's mayors recognized Bill's talents as a bridge builder in Chicago. He made sure the commission focused not just on wealthy parts of the city, but all of the city. Bill created a charitable foundation, and he's helped to make it work and help millions of others. He is a generous man, and he's generous in the praise of others. I want to give a short story here that I read when I was reading a book one day and stumbled on this little episode in Bill's life that really tells a story. It's a story about another baseball legend, a man by the name of Satchel Paige, who may have been the best baseball pitcher ever, and he was an American treasure. He was a star in the Negro Leagues during the Jim Crow era. He later became the first African-American pitcher in the American League and the first Negro League player elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame. He played for an astonishing 250 teams in his 40-year career. He used to pitch year-round, often on back-to-back days. He hurled exhibition games on his day off, spent the winter months playing in Cuba, the Dominican Republic, and Mexico. In 1968, Satchel Paige was 62 years old, and despite all the time he'd played in baseball, he hadn't played long enough to qualify for a pension. He fell 6 months short. And so Satchel Paige sent a letter to every Major League Baseball team asking them if they would consider hiring him as a coach. And if they would for 6 months, he would qualify for a pension. Well, you can guess who replied. It was Bill Bartholomay. Bill Bartholomay, in a real, true act of kindness, said baseball would have been guilty and negligent should it not assure this legendary figure a place in our pension plan. Bill made sure that Satchel Paige got his pension. He hired him to be the Braves pitcher coach trainer for just long enough to meet the pension needs. In case there was any doubt about what he was doing, he assigned Satchel Paige the number 65, the age at which his retirement salary would kick in. But there was another reason the Braves hired Satchel Paige. That summer, the summer of '68, riots were raging and cities were burning across America in the wake of Dr. King's assassination. Bill Bartholomay believed that having a bridge builder like Satchel Paige might help diffuse tensions in Atlanta. And he was right. Satchel did that partly by signing autographs and spending time with fans and serving as a goodwill ambassador. And even though his title was trainer, what Satchel Paige really wanted to do, even at age 62, was pitch. The club didn't care for the idea. They were afraid his eyesight wasn't good enough and that a line drive might knock him off the mound. Satchel insisted, said he could tell by the crack of the bat where the ball was coming. He got his way. In 1969, Satchel Paige pitched a couple of innings in an exhibition game for the Braves' highest-level minor league team, the AAA Richmond team. So picture this. Satchel Paige on the mound, beaming, and who steps up to the plate? Hank Aaron, the best pitcher in baseball history against the best hitter. Strike one, strike two. Finally, Hank Aaron swings hard, gets a piece of the ball, and pops out to third. Old Satch still had it. In his 1966 Hall of Fame induction speech, Ted Williams urged the inclusion of Negro League players to the Hall of Fame. Satchel Paige was elected as the first Negro League player to be inducted. Satchel Paige once said, and I quote, "Ain't no man can avoid being born average, but there ain't no man got to be common." Bill Bartholomay has led an uncommon life as a business leader, as a pioneer in baseball, as a civic leader, as a philanthropist, but as a man who sensed in his lifetime an opportunity to build bridges in America and make us a better nation through the game of baseball and through the integration of that sport. He has served the cities of Chicago and Atlanta in an extraordinary way, but he has served America as well. He proved his old phys ed instructor wrong in day school by showing that the rules of baseball are pretty good rules for life after all. On this day, as we start spring training and a new baseball season, I wish the very best to the very best, Bill Bartholomay. Mr. President, I yield the floor and suggest the absence of court.